Hey guys, it's Postbox Pat. Welcome back to a brand new video, and this is a brand new thing I've decided to attempt and start maybe on the channel. As you guys know, I've recently been playing creative a lot in the last 3 months inside of Fortnite, constructing my 50 fashion map and many other maps inside of creative. I would say my knowledge in creative has definitely increased by probably 1000%. That gives me the ability to possibly start creating this sort of content for you guys if you enjoy it, and that's what we're doing today. We're talking about everything new in creative and explaining exactly what it does and what you guys can take advantage of from this, and even an XP farm technically, possibly with the Accolade device. And we'll explore that in today's video, explaining how you can gain XP inside, for example, my 50 fashion show and many other creative maps that introduce the new Accolade device, which grants you XP. Anyway, starting off, let's start off with the weapons. So inside of creative, you can now get access to the sideways scythe, also the combat pistol, the combat assault rifle, the shockwave launcher, and for some reason the 0-point pretzel. So that's pretty cool. 5 new items added in with different rarities. These are not just the standard rarities, there are other rarities. I'm sure we'll be able to create some cool things with these, which is kind of useful. Now, on the topic of items, I actually want to go over here and explore this one. And this is a brand new device added in called the item remover. You can find that in your device section over here at the top. The item remover has been added in. And what this does is pretty simple. What it does, it simply removes items from people's inventory. And this is going to be really useful. You can either delete it or drop it depending on the situation, and you can play audio from it if it does remove it, and you can apply to the player, to the player's team, to the class, or all players. So for me, this is going to be really handy inside of the map itself, 50 fashion, when we are creating other minigames. So one problem we had inside of here was creating minigames that would not have any weapons. For example, every minigame we've created so far has no weapons. We have parkour, fashion show, death run, and the zombie one. None of them had any weapons, but now we can create minigames with weapons, including possibly a shooting range with weapons, because including this in the shooting range update, we did receive a brand new change to the target dummy. Now these have also been changed again to allow for more creative options. This allows us to send signals when the targets are hit, which will allow me to create some sort of device which will grant players gold and XP for completing the shooting range. So for those that have played the 50 fashion, the old update, inside of the shooting range, which I'll show you guys now if you've never seen it, it's just over here. It's an old POI. It's probably one of the first things we added into the 50 fashion show. This is going to be getting revamped for the Christmas update, and it will now give you XP for actually shooting each target, which is going to be super awesome. And it'll also be able to grant like a gold reward if you manage to knock all the targets in a certain amount of time. That's because they've added these new settings to the target dummy which allow us to do that. So I'm just trying to apply scenarios to what you would use these settings for, because you know, it's probably the best way of me explaining stuff, giving you guys an example. So you would use, for example, when hit, transmit on. So you would transmit that to a channel, which would then, you know, grant different items and different stuff. And you could do, that's probably the main one on these, but there's also a bunch of other settings with pop up and pop down, which would come in quite handy for a lot of players. So yeah, that was kind of cool on that. So let's go back to the actual center of the map, just quickly go through the teleporter, and we'll head our way back to our little kind of room where we can test stuff for you guys. So we're back inside of our showroom. What else have we got for you guys? Well, we've got a brand new change to the timer device. So for those that don't already know, the timer device was in beta testing apparently, and it now can be used to load different situations and save different situations for individual players, I believe, which will allow for a lot of single player maps to kind of save the time point of players at when they leave the game. Now for me, this is probably a little bit too out of my range to understand fully on how to use this. I probably wouldn't be able to, but I think it's useful for mainly single player maps. For example, a map like my fashion show, 50 players, saving individual players' time really wouldn't help too much. Also, for those that are massive creative builders and love playing creative, which I don't know if many of you guys would be watching this video, but the memory has been reduced on a variety of islands. Like, you have more room to build stuff now. So your cell memory has been reduced. Mine got reduced by about 10-20k, so that's kind of good for the fashion show. It means we can do a lot more inside of here. Sadly, we're still limited to 300 channels, which is a little bit frustrating because that well, they do get full pretty quick. You know, I've used all 300, so we are still limited to that. Hopefully in the future we do get another 50, but you know, that's where we're at. Okay, so moving on to the Accolade device. This is probably the most advanced device we've got in Creative in a long time, because it allows you to farm XP, or earn XP, should I say. The word farm isn't correct. There is a cap set on it, just to get that out of the way. So, how does it work? You can set the XP reward from very small to small, medium, large, or extra large, or very large, should I say. And this is going to be useful for giving people XP in certain areas of the map. This can be triggered by either the whole team or an individual player, and it can be controlled by, you know, just a variety of different stuff, and even award different items from doing certain stuff. So, for example, this is how the device works. You don't get a set number per XP awarded, and the device takes time to calibrate in your island. What I mean by calibration is it requires testing to actually get put into place on Epic servers per publish, which is kind of frustrating. We'll talk about that in a second. But while it's being calibrated, you still can earn your creative playtime XP. And this is where me as a creator and other people out there, we need to work out how much XP each one of these are going to be given roughly per players. However, the XP reward is a calibrated XP reward. So that's why it says small, medium, large. Like, there isn't an exact number, because the way it works is it's per player doing certain tasks. So for example, the easiest way of me explaining this for you guys would be with my death run minigame inside of the fashion show, which is over here. Here is the death run. For example, if 50,000 players compete in this death run and only 10 of the 50,000 players make it to the very end of the death run, which is probably the sort of number I suspect it to be, because you have to do it in a set time period, otherwise the show ends, you will get granted a legendary XP reward. And because only 5 players are doing this, this XP reward would be absolutely huge. Whereas the players that make it to the end of the fashion show, which is first place, which is 1 in 50 players per game, would also be granted a legendary reward. However, because every player or every show, at least one person is going to make it to first place, they're going to be getting granted this legendary reward, which can only be granted to kind of that one position each time, and it's going to be less because more people are going to be getting granted it, if you get what I mean. So more people are going to be coming first than they are completing the death run, because of the difficulties in them both. You know, first place is still difficult, but the death run is also more difficult than getting first place, because I just for example anyway, I don't know if it is, that's quite difficult to describe to kind of justify them two together, but in a scenario, I would say it's easier to come first than it is to get the death run, and more people would be coming first. So that's how it works. Another example here, just a quick one, the minigame button. This grants you XP for pressing it. So when you press the minigame button, you go to the minigames, it says you've gone to the minigames, you've been granted this XP. Now, originally, Fortnite did want us to set these Accolade devices up to infinite amount of kind of triggers. So the Accolade device sends endlessly. There is no way of capping it on the device itself. So to do that, you would have to use other devices, other channels, which would be a little bit complicated, using too many channels and using too much stuff. So for me, that wouldn't be the case. I would just allow players to kind of hit the minigame button and they gain XP every time they hit it. But because so many people will be doing that to so-called farm XP, what would happen was the calibration would reduce the XP so much that it would also almost be 0 or 1 XP for every time you press this minigame button, which would be pointless to farm and nobody would be doing it. So that's the way the calibration process works. The more players that do certain tasks in the Accolade device, the less the XP, and that's the way it works. But during the calibration process, players do have to complete the tasks. So for example, when the device is being calibrated, all of the accolades must be completed, which is going to be difficult for us on the fashion show. So if there are any calibrators out there that want to help me calibrate stuff, let me know in the comments. I'll be checking through, looking for you guys, and what we'll do is we'll go on together and complete the death run, complete the parkour using maybe like a jetpack or some impulses to help calibrate the map at a faster pace, so everything does work smoothly for all the players. So that would be really useful if anyone wants to help me out with that. But yeah, that's really it for today's video. I hope it has given you a good overview of all the new changes to Creative. This is the first time I've ever done a video like this, so hopefully you guys enjoy it and it goes well, and hopefully we can expect more videos like this in the future if people want this sort of stuff. If it doesn't perform too well on the channel, then I don't think I will continue it. But I do think my knowledge on Creative has definitely increased, which allows me to create these videos now for you guys. So I hope it has helped you and given you an overview of everything new and creative, and hopefully makes you maybe create something new with some cool ideas. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new around here. And once again, this is Postbox Pat, signing out.